welcome to QI, where tonight we'll be sorting out the knights from the knaves. Strapping on the breastplate of interestingness, we have a goodly knight, Sue Perkins. A knight to remember, Victoria Coren. A very perfect, gentle knicht, the Reverend Richard Coles. And the long, dark night of the soul, Alan Davies. And knightly noises all come from knaves. Sue goes. Lovely then, Victoria goes. Richard goes. And Alan goes.
Fruity, fruity, fruity.
Yes.
Fruity,
yes. Let it. You have been warned. Let's head straight to the lists. Why was the Black Prince so called? Reverend.
Well, if my Ladybird Book of Princes is to be trusted, it's because he had black armour.
It's the one occasion where the inestimable Ladybird series has let you down. There is
no like Reservoir Dogs, where basically they weren't allowed to use their first names and they got to sign it. So you're the Black Knight, you're the White Knight, you're the Orange Knight, you're the Pink Knight. Why do I have to be the Pink Knight?
I don't want to. It might as well be. Yes.
Was he black?
Well, oddly enough, his mother was perhaps of Moorish descent.
Oh.
Philippa of Hainault, which is a tube line, isn't it?
Hainault is very near where I grew up.
Oh, there you are.
Like, Hainault.
Hainault. Do you like Hainault?
Hainault was silly.
Is Hainault good? What happened?
I don't know.
Did something happen there?
I find at the end of every tube line you do get a good
It falls to me to rescue that stuff.
Yes, I think you should. Yes,
Did you know that the oldest British door comes from Hainault?
No.
Well, the wood, it's in Westminster Abbey. It's a door which connects a cloister to the Abbey, and the canons of Westminster live behind it. And they dated their door, and they found that the wood it was made from was growing in Hainault in the 10th century.
Wow. Are you proud?
I am very proud of the door.
The sign painter's getting busy right now, going home of the oldest door.
It's a reason to get off at Hainault, finally.
Yeah.
It's the wood that grew there 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Philippa of Hainault was perhaps of Moorish descent, so that may be the reason he was called the Black Prince. We just don't know.
I'm wondering, do you think the Black Prince might have been called the Black Prince because his sins were as black as pitch?
Yes. I mean, although he was known as the master of chivalry, he almost destroyed the entire population of Limoges and Caen.
Yeah.
So there we are. Now, what is the first rule of nightclub?
Oh, the first rule of nightclub?
Yeah.
Well... You don't talk about nightclub.
Somebody had to.
Well done.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Fell on my sword.
Yeah.
Seems appropriate.
It was exactly.
Is it an existing club or a club
No,
from
it's
the
a
olden
very,
times?
It's a very oldie times club of knights, the most famous group of knights.
Templar.
The Knights Templar. There are still people who think they still exist in, you know, the sort of Dan Brownie kind of way. But they actually folded up in 1314. But they were very powerful. It was after the First Crusade they were formed in Jerusalem. And they were allowed to do almost anything. The law didn't apply to them in Jerusalem, which annoyed a lot of other people, but there were certain things they weren't allowed to do.
They weren't allowed to breed ferrets.
To breed ferrets. Do you know anything else you know about the... Well, you know they look like that.
Chew gum.
I know about ley lines.
Go on, then.
They made them.
They made... So you've been reading these stupid books about knights. Apparently, they are responsible for laying ley lines.
Well,
no.
They know where they are, anyway.
Yes, they do. They've got them all hidden.
No sex?
Well, yeah, they were allowed to marry, but if they married, they weren't allowed to wear the white and red uniform. There was no hunting except lions. That's quite specific.
That would actually be a brilliant rule for now, would it? There's so much debate about whether you should hunt or not. Please, everyone, OK, hunting is allowed, but only lions.
That's very true. They're only allowed one squire each, no telling tales, no lockable purses.
Oh.
Yeah. I suppose they have to show their trust or something like that. But their last and most important rule was no kissing.
Oh.
Yeah. Lastly, we held it dangerous to all religion to gaze too much on the countenance of women. And therefore no brother shall presume to kiss neither widow, nor virgin, nor mother, nor sister, nor aunt, nor any other woman.
But anal's all right.
Well, it's very funny you should say that. Because one of the reasons they were closed down is there was a charge against them.
Too much buggery.
Yeah.
There is a charge against them. De osculabantur se in ore, in umbilico, seu ventri nudo, et in ano, seu in spina dorsi. Et in ano,
Et in
ano.
And the end.
Yeah.
And in
the
anal.
accusation was they kissed one another on the mouth, on the navel, the bare belly, the anus, or the backbone.
Well, they were thorough. Ley line, you don't want to leave any stone unturned. There might be one coming out of his arse. I'll have a look.
But that is...
Right, that's enough. That's enough, Templars.
Did you know that the Temple Church in London, which was founded by the Knights Templar, and there are still some Knights Templar lying around, there's a unique
ones.
title for,
Yeah.
if you're the priest in charge there, you're the Reverend and Valiant Master of the Temple.
Oh, that's
It sounds like something from a
The
Star
Reverend
Wars
and
movie.
Valiant.
The Reverend and Valiant Master of the
Yeah.
Temple.
In that picture, is he going, show me on the cross where he kissed you?
But my arms are much too long. I'm not going to fit on this.
Yes, you're going to nail me against the air.
You'll have to just nail my ears to it.
Now, what makes you think this knight is a total bastard?
Oh, he looks like a mean.
His hat.
Oh,
Not his hat, Richard.
he's got a diagonal white stripe across his lions, which means he's been naughty.
No, he hasn't been naughty at all.
Is he, is he legitimate? Has his father
His
been naughty?
father's been naughty. It's what's known as the bend sinister.
Oh, we've all had Ben Sinister.
It starts at the bottom left and goes up to the top right, which can indicate you are a bastard. And in his case, there's more information just on that simple coat of arms. The 3 lions. No,
He's-
the bastard son of
it
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
Somebody told me it.
It's the red significance.
It's the royal family. It's a royal coat of arms.
So he's a royal bastard. So he's
Yeah.
a Fitzjohn or something. Fitzjohn, Fitzroy.
Fitzroy. His name would be Fitzroy. Fitz is the son of, and Roy is king. And one particular king had 5 Fitzroys from his mistress. Who would that be?
Hang
Who
on,
was the
George,
lady?
one of the Georges?
No, go back a bit. Rewind.
Henry
Charles
VIII.
II.
Charles II.
Henry
yeah.
VII.
No, Charles II.
Charles
we got
II.
there. We got there without you. Charles II.
That's some kings.
Very good. She was called Barbara Palmer, and she bore him 5.
Babs?
5 Babs Palmer. She would have been a Babs.
Were you
I expect,
Babs?
Yeah.
You fixed me up again.
It fits me up. And we have a Henry.
Because it cancels out. If the one with the stripe then marries and has a legitimate son, then
Ah.
they take the stripe away.
That would be very good. No, I think you keep it, I think, in your coat of arms. And in fact, there are certain things which indicate something very extraordinary about your shield. What do you think they are?
OK.
They have a particular meaning. Yeah.
Is it visible panty line?
It's terrible. Really, they get terrible VPL.
It's not visible, Ben. It's the colours, actually, are indicative of
Status?
sin, of a mistake, an error. They're known as abatements, also as stains, as in a stain on the family name, or a stain on the escutcheon.
So, what can stain
You've got to be
be?
very serious. It's going on your coat of
I
arms.
know. Well, the first is called the Point Champagne Tenay, and it's for killing a prisoner who has demanded quarter or mercy, which is really ungentlemanly.
It's a bit like points on a driving licence, isn't
It
it?
is.
It's
Absolutely
the
right.
points on the shield.
Yeah,
For...
exactly. And the next one here, which we'll have a look at,
Needs dusting.
this is called the Delph Tenay, and that's for issuing a challenge and then bottling out.
Coward.
Yeah.
It's a big old
Coward.
yellow smudge on
Exactly. Very much a smudge on the coat of arms. And then we have a gusset sanguine sinister.
that. A gusset sanguine.
Yeah.
On a night, really?
Yeah. Absurd, isn't it? There's no
Gusset
way to
sanguine.
get.
So
Well, the
a
sanguine is the
bloody-
colour, it's blood colour.
Okay,
It's for
gusset.
being drunk. And you have a gusset sanguine Dexter,
On the right.
Is
That's,
being an
Yeah.
adulterer. So there you are. Now we have one that you have to guess. So tell me what this is.
you're a drunken adulterer.
There you are, you see. Points for listening. Yeah. So that's the whole world of
Wait,
heraldry.
It's sort of a nicer design for the drunken
It is,
adulterer.
isn't it?
I feel like it's too rewarding.
Is it 2 gussets or a wine glass?
Well, that's the choice facing
Yes,
the drunken adulterer.
exactly.
I mean, every Saturday.
Oh, they knew what they were doing.
Did you know that if you're a clergyman, you can't have a helmet on your coat of arms?
Oh, thank God.
You can't have a helmet because you can't be in a
No,
chaplain
you
or something.
can't do anything which is... Did you know that if you're a clergyman, if you go to a black tie-do, you can't have a stripe down your trousers?
No.
Because it's a military insignia, and you can't have that. And you can't have a helmet because it's a martial sign. So you have to have this sort of... It's a lovely sort of... remember Bill and Ben? It's a bit like that. It's called a galero. And it's black if you're a priest and red if you're a cardinal. And if you're the Pope, you get a pointy one with 3 tiaras.
Quite a
to be
bellowed ball.
Pope now.
I think you'd look good in that.
You've got to have it. That's our knights with their shields. You also find knights on a chessboard, of course. So what I want to know is this very strange conundrum. What's the maximum number of knights you can have on a chessboard, such that none of them can take another one?
Oh, multiples of 8, I suppose.
I'll give you can try it out.
So that none...
Maximum number. What you have to do is understand what a knight's move is.
Stephen, I don't understand the question.
It's the maximum, it's the maximum number of knights you would have on a chessboard, such that none can take the other. Have you noticed something in common with the ones you're putting down?
They're all the same.
Same. OK, the same colour, so...
Yes, because a knight move must take a different colour.
Ah.
So 32?
32 is the right answer! It's really very simple when you think about it, isn't it? It's one of those things that sounds incredibly complicated that you have to work out for ages, but there you are.
I still don't understand it at
Well,
all.
none of these knights can take another knight.
Isn't that rather more knights than we used to?
Yes. it's a problem. It's not a real chess situation. It's if you
Because they
had-
move, because the way they move, which is diagonal
Yeah.
and up one, they move to the alternate colour.
Yes.
So if you've got all the knights on the same colour, they cannot take...
Exactly right.
Oh,
I mean, that's
I get it,
how,
I get it.
in the centre of the board, you're controlling 8 different squares there, but they're all a different colour. The knight's on a black square. So all you have to do is put them all on a black square or all on a white
When you
square.
move your knight, do you make a little horsey noise?
That's so sweet.
And when you move your rook... Ah!
Bishop.
When you do your... Hello. That's your bishop. You're in such trouble. You're getting in trouble from both sides.
Oh, you are awful.
Yes. You're getting in trouble from both sides, though,
I'd say,
Richard.
if the Bishop of Peterborough is watching this evening, you'll have my resignation on your desk. Isn't there a version of chess for kind of chess heads called fairy chess, where the pieces do more things?
Oh,
fairy chess. I'm not making this up. I'm sure it's
Fairy
true.
chess.
That there's a versions of chess where you can call these fairy pieces, and they can do extra things.
How many drugs did you take when you were hanging out with the So you should just go, you're playing chess, and suddenly you go, no, we're playing fairy chess now.
Well, you don't have to touch the pieces.
The whole point of chess is its limitations.
Yes,
It's all
precisely.
about the strictness. Which
Precisely.
You know, but hang on, Mrs. Poker player Victoria Coren Mitchell. Aren't there versions of poker where they kind of introduce wild cards and
Yes.
stuff to kind of get it? It's the same sort of thing.
The poker's different. As Martin Amos once said, in chess, the properties of a bishop are fixed. In poker, it's all wobbled through the prism of personality.
Well, you
Very
haven't obviously
good.
checked.
Beautiful quote.
Beautiful
Beautiful
quote.
quote. But do you know when he said that, Stephen? It was after a poker game that you and I and he
Yes,
all
I remember
played
in Wales, with
many
the
years
then
ago.
unknown Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, who was
Made
knocked
right
out, got up, said, "What am I supposed to do now?" And you said, "There's a shotgun in the drawer."
Very good title for a book.
So, now, name a place where a knight can be buried.
The ground.
You must be astonished to know that isn't true.
Does it have to be buried above the ground?
No, I'm saying that they can be buried, but where can they be buried?
In a tomb...
A vault?
A hole.
A pyramid?
The pyramid. The fact is the moment you are dead, you are no longer a knight.
You're not a knight anymore.
Yeah, because everyone was shouting about
But
how Jimmy Savile should have his knighthood
exactly.
taken away, but they'd have had to give it back to him in
Exactly.
order to take it
You're
away.
no longer a member of the order the moment you die. So the moment you die, you're not a knight. So you can't bury a knight anywhere. Unless you're very mean and bury them alive.
Yes, I'm talking about it, but if you're a clergyman and
Yes.
you're knighted, you can't call yourself sir.
Whoa!
Unless you are knighted before you're ordained, and then you can be the Reverend Sir or Lady. This
What
thing about you
whiz.
can't be, because it's a
Yeah.
chivalric order, you can't be...
It's military in the end.
exactly,
You're a
so you
knight.
can't do that if you're a vicar. You can't bear arms.
You can bear
Just a
legs,
can of
though, can't you?
mace.
Yeah. So, there are no dead knights, only dead former knights. Now, just knaves. What's the best way to stop your car from being stolen?
Never park it, just drive it around and around.
Yeah. What you've cunningly done is avoid the obvious trap of saying you have a car alarm, because it seems that car alarms are worse than useless. In fact, we know that instinctively, don't we?
Because you ignore them.
You ignore them,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, not only that, 1% of people when asked said that they would actually call the police if they had a car alarm, and 60% said they would call up to complain about it. They would actually make a phone call, but not to say that someone's car was being stolen, just to say what a bloody nuisance it was.
So if that's the worst thing to do, then what's the best thing to do?
Well, put in an old-fashioned lock,
Or have a rubbish car.
or have a terrible car.
I've got a terrible car
Yeah.
with loads of graffiti on it.
Yeah.
Someone drew a penis on the front bonnet.
A friend of mine who's married to a vicar, she came out one morning and found someone who'd written monk whore.
Extraordinary! Monk whore.
And now on BBC One, Monk Hall. Robson Green.
Is monk whore. Did you know that actually car thieving is almost never a female occupation?
That's like a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight, the pair of us.
I'm sure you know who that is, but...
That's Bonnie.
Bonnie, as in Bonnie and Clyde, yes. But apparently the confraternity of car thieves don't think women should be allowed... So if a woman steals a car, they can't sell it on. They go, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not having it off you, you don't know what it's about.
So what you're saying is there's very little divide between car thieves and car salesmen.
It's a sexist bastion.
I saw this brilliant documentary about crime, and they interviewed these two young car criminals who were in jail, and they talked about what pride they took in their work, and one of them turned to the camera and said, some car criminals, unfortunately, give the rest of us a bad name.
Fantastic. Bit of pride in his work. Now, explain the effect of Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, wasn't that when you identify... But you identify, if you're a victim of kidnap, you identify with your kidnappers and you sort of become weird friends.
Yeah, I mean, that is what they say.
What's from the Patty Hearst kidnap? Is that where it started?
Well, it was no, because she was nothing to do with Stockholm. There was a 73 kidnapping in Stockholm, after which it was named. That's the Stockholm Four. And they defended the robbers after the event and so on. So
Because they become so inured to the...
That's
system
right.
of-
And the most famous one, as you rightly say, was the heiress of William Randolph Hearst, Patty Hearst, who was kidnapped by a strange group called the Symbionese Liberation Army.
Unusually for a clergyman of the Church of England, I've had dinner with Patty Hearst.
You haven't?
Have you?
How was she? Was she back to normal?
Completely charming. I didn't know who she was until someone said who she was.
By the time they had coffee, she wanted to be a vicar.
She'd sort of become a kind of bohemian socialite in Los Angeles in the 1980s when I used to go to a previous incarnation. And I met her...
When you were a rock star, a rock god. Yeah.
And I met her there. Those sort of dinners that you would go to where everyone would be weirdly famous and have no other reason to be there at all. So you'd have Patty Hearst and, I don't know,
Nancy
Andy
Reagan.
Warhol and Eddie the Eagle, you know.
Oh, that's a dinner you'd want to go to.
No, definitely, definitely. But the fact is, it seems to be an aberration. It's very rare. Most people, when they're kidnapped, have nothing but feelings of complete hostility towards their captors, as you would expect.
I would feel as a clergyman sort of bound to... Sort
Are you a clergyman?
I would sort of feel obliged to kind of be nice to them. And
Oh, well,
sort
you
of
would, wouldn't you?
establish some rapport.
I
of
do
some kind
understand
of-
your point.
Exactly. Yes. I think your case is good in parts.
So there was a famous figure in history, one of the most famous in history, who did certainly not have Stockholm Syndrome, who was kidnapped by pirates. And...
Johnny Depp.
No, this is a great figure in history. He was kidnapped by pirates, was held hostage, and the ransom was paid.
Give us a clue. What sort of era?
He then pursued them with a small fleet, or a number of boats, a flotilla.
Francis Drake.
No, and
Cook, Raleigh, Cook.
Nelson.
had them all crucified.
Oh,
A Roman.
Oh, it's Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar is the right answer. Yeah. And the thing is, he'd told them while he was held hostage, when I get out here, I would come back and I would crucify you. And they apparently thought it was a joke.
It was a laughing
They didn't know their Caesar. So,
How
tough
do you
cookie.
crucify someone if they've got hooks for hands? It's very rich.
they have magnets, massive magnets.
They've got one wooden leg there, haven't they? So that's not so difficult.
Oh, wait, why was Julius Caesar kidnapped by pirates? Under what
Yeah, it was a
circumstances?
ransom, simply. It was a business.
But they didn't kill him. It sounds like he was harmed.
Yeah, he went after them and had them crucified. He was not a man to be trifled with, Julie.
Especially if you call him Julie, I
Yeah,
imagine.
no, he didn't like that.
Worst thing you could do to Julius Caesar, call him Julie.
There is a suggestion of Stockholm Syndrome. Could be a sort of psychological thing in the same way that women throughout history have had to put up with being taken and seized, and that the human being is conditioned to make the best of a bad job.
Well, we've all been there.
Relationships, Stephen.
But it's sort of logical. I mean, if you thought you were being kidnapped long term, it makes sense to try and see it from the other person's point of view.
Absolutely right.
Just
It
to
does.
maintain sanity.
Yeah,
not when
and in
they're-
fact, to get the syndrome to work on them rather than you, for them to be so fond of you, they would no longer want to kill you, which would be handy. Now, what's a good reason for faking your own kidnapping?
You're bored on holiday?
that would do
You're
it.
trying to get out of a relationship, that's why I would always do it.
There was an American man who pretended to be kidnapped just so that he had an excuse as to why he hadn't called his girlfriend for 2 weeks. He was terrified of her reaction. And the police realised it because he had duct tape around his wrists, but the spool of it was still connected. Still tear the teeth.
Could
it's
imagine the girlfriend
fibrous.
saying you could still have texted.
Exactly. You could have done. There was Jennifer Wilbanks of Duluth, who faked a kidnapping to get out of attending her own wedding. But the weirdest is a 2008 case was another Spaniard, Josefa Sanchez Vargas, who convinced her husband to pay more than £500,000 to secure the release of their children. It's a faked kidnapping, which you say, well, that's we expect that. Except she did that 6 times over 5 years. She didn't twig.
What a nest egg.
Every time she needed a new hat. Some people get kidnapped just for the thrill of it. Can you imagine why that?
So they pay you for kidnappers to kidnap
Yeah.
them so they can experience the visceral thrill of,
Yeah.
being in a car boot with a load of duct tape around your ankle.
Absolutely that.
People are weird.
Anyway, yes, there's a French company that for 900 euros gives you your basic kidnapping, which is being shoved into a car boot and held up, blindfolded and things like that. And then for a little extra money, you can have helicopter chases and really quite sort of sexy stuff.
And then they'll cut your ear off and send it to your mum.
Yes. So, now it's time for me to hold you all hostage. There's no escape from general ignorance. Fingers on the buzzers, please. How long should you wait before reporting a missing person to the police? Yes, sir.
Well, certainly until they're missing.
Very
Out
good.
of sight.
Yeah. When they've left the
turned the
room.
corner.
Yeah. When is it too soon? Just going to make a cup of tea. Right, I'm ringing. 24 hours?
I don't think you should wait at all if you're convinced someone's
Absolutely right.
missing.
If you take your child into a supermarket, you'd be 20 minutes, wouldn't it? I mean, you
20
know that they're
seconds.
gone. 20
Yeah.
seconds, really. You just check they're not there.
I'm going to wait 24 hours. Go home tomorrow. Well, I don't know where she is. But I'm going to wait till tomorrow. You might as well go out. 'Cause we don't have to get Let's have a curry and some wine and phone her in the morning.
You're absolutely right. And of course, if it's an adult, it doesn't matter because the police are very likely just to say that's not our business, unless they have a particular problem. But the fact is, yeah, there is no set time. The police use their own skill and judgment, as it were. If it's a child, it's obviously...
That's a recipe.
Three words you don't hear in the same sentence.
Just hope you're not burgled soon.
Got burgled so many times in the 90s that one time they came around, about the fifth time I've been burgled, they came in and my cat came in and this constable goes, if only you could talk.
That's fantastic. Oh,
Is that how we get it? Is that it then? Is that the extent of the investigation? Willing the animal to put in.
Now, what did Parliament pay for to put in Sir Peter Viggors's garden? Yes.
The notorious duck house.
Oh! You're in the duck house there. And the fact is, the duck house was one of the ones that they turned down. Oh. Yeah, he put in claims for £32,000 for gardening, £500 for 28 tonnes of manure, £1,645 for the duck island, but that was turned down by the eagle-eyed guardians of the national purse.
Yeah.
Probably worth mentioning that at the same time as that £8 billion was spent to bailing out the banks. It was just that was too big a sum for anyone to get their heads around, so they went, what? £10 for a sandwich?
I
This
know.
is appalling.
It's fascinating, isn't it? That Sir Peter Viggors later commented that the duck house was never liked by the ducks and is now in storage. Oh, look, there they are. They don't need an island. I love ducks, don't you?
You never see that sort of thing on a coat of arms, do you? All the sort of lions and dragons. You never see something nice, like
duck.
a duck or
Yeah.
a, Eggs Benedict or some sort of friendly... friendly
Yeah,
thing.
sort of a hamster or a guinea pig or something.
Yeah.
True, they're furry
Yes.
bearing. Anyway, the famous duck house didn't cost the taxpayer a penny. And with that last tilt at our old friend General Ignorance, we reach the end of tonight's performance. And I can tell you that it is incredibly exciting. We have leaders, two leaders with +3, Richard and Victoria. Rosa. In third place, with -7, Alan Davis. Highly commendable. Highly commendable. And with a fantastic -24 is Sue Perkins. And it only remains for me to thank my panelists, Victoria, Sue, Richard and Alan. Thank you and good night.